Hi, Year 8s. Let's look at, again, Chapter 3C. This time we're looking at multiplying and dividing fractions. We have three key vocabulary words to work through today. The three words are product, quotient, and reciprocal. Our learning intention today is to understand that the techniques for multiplying and dividing positive fractions also apply to negative fractions. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to have a go at multiplying and dividing negative fractions. Okay, let's look at our three vocab words. What does product mean? Okay, when we were talking about the word product, it's not what's at the supermarket. It's not a product that you can buy there. A product means that it's the answer to a multiplication equation. So it could be, let's say, 2 multiplied by 3, for example. The product would be the answer that the equation gives you. So in this case, the product is 6. Quotient is the answer to a division equation. So 6 divided by 2 equals the quotient. So 6 divided by 2 would be, and the quotient would be 3. Reciprocal is something that you've used before, but remember when we're looking at reciprocals, it is, for example, let's do a fraction, let's do 2 divided by 3, or 2/3. The reciprocal of this fraction here would be the fraction that allows the equation to equal 1. So what fraction could we put in that place so that 2/3 multiplied by something equals 1? Well, really, it's just going to be the reversal or reciprocal of those denominators and numerators. So we change the 3 to the numerator and the 2 to the denominator. And now we know that 2 times 3 equals 6, and 3 times 2 equals 6. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. Okay, so when we're doing a reciprocal, we just flip them over, the denominator and numerator. All right, let's get into these. There's 8 rules to go through to work out how to multiply and divide negative fractions. Now, we've seen these rules earlier in Chapter 1, and they do apply not only to integers but to fractions as well. So our first rules, or our first set of rules, rules 1 through 4, is when the fractions are of the same sign. So either they're all positive, they're both positive, or they're both negative. Okay, the product, multiplication or quotient division of two fractions of the same sign is always going to give you a positive fraction answer. Okay, so positive multiplied by positive will give you a positive answer. Negative divided by multiplied by negative will give you a positive answer. Positive divided by positive will give you a positive answer, and negative divided by negative will give you a positive answer. Okay. The next set of rules are where the signs are different to each other or opposite to each other. In this case, positive multiplied by negative will give you a negative answer. Always will give you a negative answer. And negative multiplied by a positive will give you a negative answer. Positive divided by a negative will give you a negative answer, and a negative divided by a positive will give you a negative answer. So let's look at applying these 8 rules. I'll give you 4 examples to work through. The first one is 2 divided by 3 multiplied by negative 4/5. Okay, let's try to identify, first of all, what are we working with here? 2/3. It's a positive fraction. We know it's a positive fraction because there's no negative symbol in front of it. So here I have a positive multiplied by a negative. Which rule are we applying for this one here? And we can see if we work through our rules, we can see that it's actually rule number 5. Positive multiplied by a negative will give you a negative answer. So straight away I know that it's going to be a negative answer there. Okay, let's try to work it out though. So if I have 3 multiplied by 5, my answer will give me 3 times 5 is 15. And our numerators multiplied together, 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. So my answer there is 8 divided by 15. Can we simplify that down at all? Are there any common factors between 8 and 15? And the answer there is no. The only common factor there would be 1. We cannot simplify that any further. Let's look at our second example. Negative 6/5 multiplied by negative 3/4. Which rule are we going to apply this time? I have obviously a negative fraction to begin with, multiplied by another negative fraction. So let's look at which rule we're going to apply. Will it be rule number 1? No. It has to be this second one here. Negative multiplied by negative equals a positive fraction. So automatically we know it's going to be a positive fraction. I could leave the positive there, but generally speaking, it's easier just to assume that it's positive without that symbol. So now we can multiply those denominators out. 5 times 4 we know is going to be 20, and 6 times 3 is 18. Can we simplify that fraction? Yes, we can. What's the highest common factor? Just by looking at that, I know that it would be the number 2. How many 2's go into 18? Let's divide each by 2. How many 2's go into 18? I know there's 9. How many 2's go into 20? I know there's 10. Can we simplify this fraction out any further? No, because the highest common factor between those is just the number 1, so it will stay the same. Our third example here. Negative 2/5 divided by negative 3/4. Okay, let's look at which rule we'll apply. We have a negative divided by a negative. What's our answer going to be? Both of those symbols are the same, so it's negative divided by negative. The answer there will be positive, so just the same. Let's look at how do we divide a fraction by another fraction? Well, this is where we come into our reciprocals. When we're dividing a fraction by another fraction, the first step we do is to simply change the operation from a division to a multiplication, and then take the reciprocal of the second fraction. The first fraction we leave completely the same. So let's do that. The first fraction is the same. We change the division to a multiplication, and then do the reciprocal of that second fraction, which would be negative 4/3 in this case. Okay, we still have a negative multiplied by a negative, which would be rule number 2. So let's do our simple multiplication. 5 multiplied by 3, 15. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. Are there any ways to simplify that fraction? Looking at the first one, no, it's still going to be the most simplified fraction there. And the fourth equation, let's look at a mixed fraction. Okay, here I have a mixed fraction, negative 1/3 divided by a whole number, this time 3. Okay, I can see immediately that it's a negative divided by a positive number. So I'm going to go down here and see if I can find which equation or which rule applies to that one. So I know it's number 8, negative divided by positive. My answer is automatically going to be a negative, so I'm going to add a negative there. Okay. The second thing that would start to confuse you is how would I get this into a fraction? So this whole number, or integer number 3, if I just divide that by 1, that's going to still equal 3, but now it looks like a fraction. So it's going to be negative 1/3 divided by 3/1, okay? But remember, we have to get this mixed fraction into an improper fraction first. So convert to an improper fraction, that's your second step. So let's do 3 multiplied by 1, which is 3, plus the numerator, which is 4/3. The second step there would be to take the reciprocal of 3/1 and change the division sign. So again, I'm going to bring this whole equation down, 4/3 or negative 4 over 3. Change the division to multiplication and then reciprocate that fraction there. So it'll be 1 over 3, and then I can do a simple multiplication of fractions. So 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 1 is 4, and my answer there, of course, using this rule number 8, would be a negative. So that would be negative 4 over 9. Can we simplify that down any further? Well, knowing the factors of 4 and the factors of 9, the highest common factor there would be 1, and so therefore that fraction there is as simplified as you can get it. Thank you.